So, you want to be an it girl? Hi guys, welcome back to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. Today I am joined by the lovely ladies of the Kelly and Melly Podcast. Hi guys, welcome. Oh my God, I'm so excited to finally get to talk to you.
This is so exciting.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So first off, let's start with, if you guys can just introduce yourselves, tell us where you are, and then, yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. You go first. Okay. So first, I want to just say, so I'm Kelly of the Kelly and Melly Show. And this is our first video recorded on. So we have our podcast, but this is the first video. So thank you for inviting us. So we are based right now out of New Brunswick, Canada.
Wow.
Do you know where New Brunswick is? Have you ever heard of New Brunswick? Okay.
No.
So, right. So both originally from just outside of Toronto, Ontario.
Okay. Know where that is.
Okay,
yes.
Right? So that was sort of my question. Does anyone even know where New Brunswick is? So for myself, I relocated here going on 6 years in January for my career. I came to open a business. And so I've been here for 6 years, focused mainly many years on building my career in business. And when I relocated here, I met someone. And yes, so I met somebody, and he has a daughter. So we have her full time. So now I have my little ready-made family in New Brunswick. So really just out here, it's kind of East Coast.
Not gonna lie, when you said that, I thought you meant Melly. I did not think you meant love and love interest. I was like,
no, love. No. Oh, no, not Melly. Melly just actually recently relocated here.
Gotcha.
So she's within a couple months. I'm 6 years. Yeah. So we're based out of New Brunswick. We started the Kelly and Melly Show last February, I think it was. Yeah, because of COVID. Because of COVID, we were, not just looking for something to kind of do and stay connected, right? We really found that okay, we need to reconnect and find ways to connect with people. What a great way. And, the Kelly and Melly Show came to life. So, okay, I'm going to turn it over to...
I'm Melly of the Kelly and Melly Show. My friends actually call me Mel, but Kelly and Melly has a really great spin to it. So I am here in New Brunswick now. Up until September this year, I lived in Ontario, so just outside of Toronto. And I decided after visiting Kelly a number of times over here in the Maritimes that fuck it. I'm just, can I swear on your podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay. I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go. COVID was really tough, in where I live specifically, we're on lockdown for 100 years.
Oh.
And so the minute that I could get out, I got out, I came here and I felt like I could breathe. I felt like a different person. Everything here is very slow pace, laid back. There's no traffic. I know you're in
I'm in LA. I'm in the queen of traffic. I think New York is the king and we're the queen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There you go. And then Toronto would be the little, the Jack,
okay,
the
good,
Jack,
yeah.
right?
So still a face card, basically.
Yeah, face card for sure. We're still dealing with the face cards. And so coming out here, there's no traffic. And so I speed everywhere, but luckily I haven't been pulled over yet. But yeah, I'm here. We've been podcasting for a while now, and it's funny because it just started out as an idea. We have the Kelly and Melly Show actually started years ago because we're such phenomenal storytellers, and we're both just so full of shit, and we just building each other's stupid ideas all the time. And so wherever we would go, there would be this production. And so we took that, threw it on a podcast, and turned out people really like listening to us. And so here we are.
It actually started, the Kelly and Melly Show actually launched. We went on vacation to Mexico. Ooh. And while we were on vacation in Mexico, we decided to let people know at the resort that they were on a reality TV show called the Kelly and Melly Show.
No, for real. And we told them that we were doing a documentary on fishy lips, fishy kisses. And so we have pictures of probably 100 people like this. And like they did, anyways.
We had the bus driver, we had wait staff, we had other vacationers. Yeah.
You
So
guys
that's
are a hoot. Yeah, that's so funny. That is the type of thing me and my best friend would pull. Like, we're like, one time, we're getting so sidetracked, but I have to tell you this.
It's fine.
One time, me and my best friend decided we were going to host a Detective Pikachu premiere party. And we made a fake email address. She photoshopped the invitations. I hired somebody to be a security guard. Like,
love it. I love it. We would do that. We would.
yeah. Like,
Oh my God.
and then like people actually thought, well, one of our friends, he actually works in like the industry and thought it was like the legit one. And then he realized it was like our address. It was very funny, but yeah, it was
Right.
like, yes, I love that you guys were like, this is the reality show. This is happening. The joke goes on and on.
Yeah.
And it's not a joke.
Well,
It's very serious.
listen, like okay, so it's our life, right? Like, I mean, you have to have fun. You have to have fun. You have to be creative and just have fun with it. Just go and create these experiences. And I mean, that's where it started, and it's just continued to evolve from there. So
then how did you two actually meet?
Okay. So it's funny because in one of our podcasts, we talk about this and she has no recollection. So
I was probably drunk.
Good.
And I was really drunk the night that we met. So we would bump into each other. Like we had a mutual circle of friends, but we never really talked. And I thought she was a total bitch. And every best friendship starts off with the terms, I thought she was a total bitch. And so we were at a party. I never talked to her, but I knew who she was. And I had drank probably 5 too many. And she had convinced me to get in the car, not driving, with a responsible driver and go home. Yeah, you got to go home.
Go.
And so that was the birth of our friendship. And I think that, to be honest with you, other than the time that you left me and moved, 16 hours across the country, like that's the longest that we haven't been apart since then. It was just like an instant connection.
It was instant.
Wow. So how many years do we know of friendship?
We're talking 2008, probably 2008.
Wow.
So it's been a minute. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I love that though.
Yeah. And it was at a point in my life where I had just come out of it's so interesting, right? And we can get into this, but it's so interesting because at the time that I met Mel is kind of where she is today in her life. Yeah. So I, at that time, was getting out of a toxic relationship. It wasn't really like a good place. Mm-hmm. I was recreating myself. I was kind of looking at like new career options, entertaining different, we went into business together, like event planning. Mm-hmm. We had run like speed dating events, things like that. And it really just helped to build our friendship. Mm-hmm. And we were just so close. And here we are, fast forward to today. And it's kind of the position that you're in right now, right?
Wow.
Like, and we're going through it together. So
I love that. Can we get into that? Can we talk about like, so you're both having like these in different times, these transitional phases in your life. What's going on? Paint us the picture.
So much. Okay. So in terms of my transformation. Okay. So in June, I came to visit Kelly. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. I knew I was in a shitty relationship. Like I knew that, but I had no idea. Dating. Yep. We lived together, had the house, the whole 9 yards. And I knew that it wasn't a good situation, but I had no idea how bad it was until I got off the plane here and took a deep breath. I was like, holy fuck, my life is just all kinds of fucked up. And so I literally within 3 days decided I'm moving across the country. I'm leaving this toxic relationship and I'm just going to make it happen. And so we're now 5 months post that visit.
Yeah. Wow.
I literally just bought a house.
Yeah. Really? Just
yesterday.
Congrats. Huge. Congrats. So much fucking paperwork.
Yes. Thank goodness it's electronic now, but got out of the relationship. I brought my children with me. But like, I think that getting out of the relationship, I didn't want to be the same person I had been, because what I recognized was that I had been in the same relationship with different people a number of times. And so I had to start taking like a really hard look at myself to figure out like, who am I in these relationships and why am I kind of attracting the same, asshole every single time. And so Kelly and I have been really working together on like figuring out, not just from a relationship perspective, but just like, who do we want to be? How do we want to show up? And it's been honestly like so awesome. Like, it's just been so awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's insane. And so you were also in a similar place when you two met? Same.
I was. So going back years ago, I was just I had built a house with someone. I was in a relationship with him. It didn't work. It wasn't good. I mean, we built a house together. We moved in, and 5 months later, I'm like, dude, I'm out. Like, I'll pay the legal fees. I'm walking away from this situation. You can keep it all. It wasn't a good situation once we moved in together. And as I started to kind of go off on that adventure at that time in my life, then I met Mel.
Wow.
At that point, right? And then we just sort of formed this friendship, and it was instant. Yeah. Like, it was instant, just like, everything just comes so naturally. And I think that, to say you have a best friend and someone that completely unconditionally has your back, right? Like, you need your person, and she's my person, and vice versa. So yeah.
That's so sweet. Not to like harp on the negative a little bit, but like, did you, cause like, I think a lot of people in my age, they think a lot about like, am I doing the right thing? Like, is this the right move? Is this the right career? Is this the right place? Is this the right relationship? Are there any signs, like, looking back, that you both might have thought were like a red flag?
Yes, so many. And this is the thing about when you get on the other side of it, you start looking back and going, holy shit, how did I not know? And so, like, for me, it was not only was it a toxic relationship, but there was like a massive substance abuse. Like, so he was a massive alcoholic. I had no idea. I'd never seen alcoholism like that. Listen, I'm drinking a glass of wine right now. I have a super healthy relationship with alcohol, but I'd never seen that before. But looking back, red flags, the way he talked to me, how stupid I was, and just like over time, I should probably say, and you too, I'm super successful in my career. I
love that.
Run businesses. Like we are. Yes. Like what you would say, we're boss ass bitches. Yes. Like, we run companies, right? Yes. Right. And so I'm in this world where I'm working with all these men, and I'll throw it out there, and all of these men respect the hell out of me, and and I'm tough, and I'm all these things, but at home I'm stupid and I'm useless, and in my mind over time I started to actually believe it, and so that was huge. Not being able to like actually like feel comfortable speaking my mind was huge for me. Being told everything that I had to say was stupid. Also huge for me. My children are mixed. And so there was a period of time where sort of that Black Lives Matter, like that, things were happening. And there was a lot of sidebar conversation about how ridiculous that was, which again was just so not cool, right? I mean, there were so many red flags, but but at the beginning, it was like whining and dining me and like fixing all my shit and showing me how much I needed a man in my life. And then again, it took 2 years, and 2 years into it, like things just switched. The alcohol came out, the mean words came out, and it just steamrolled from there. I pulled back from my friends, pulled back from my family. I spent many nights, and I was telling Kelly this when I came to visit her, but not before then. Even though she was my best friend, she had no idea. I would go to bed every night as soon as my kids were asleep, and I would pretend to be sleeping just so I didn't have to hear all the things he had to say about me. So that's kind of my story.
And I think that, when she came and we had a chance to talk, and I had a chance to learn what her experience was and what she was going through, because again, although we were doing our podcast and we were talking all the time, I think as women, or as strong, successful women, we go into autopilot, and we don't want, right? It's our pride. And we don't want to be vulnerable and show that, oh my goodness, like maybe I'm weak in this situation. Maybe other people are going to view me as, how did you end up here? How did that happen? But it happens so gradually, and you're not really like seeing it happen. And then over time, you're in autopilot, and, life is happening around you until you get to a place where you're just, okay, this is not, this is not how I want to feel in my life. B, and this is not how I want to live. And her story is very similar to mine. I mean, when I was with my ex, It was when I said I left after 5 months, for the last month we went in separate rooms. He was very controlling. So everything, and I did have signs before we moved in together. I remember, I was single 7 years before I met him. Mm-hmm. So I was at my parents having dinner one night, and he said, and every time I said something, he'd be like, oh, no, you're wrong. Oh, no, that's not right. Oh, no. And would correct me. And I remember stopping him one night at dinner and saying, yeah, but the funny thing is like prior to like getting in a relationship with you, I was single. So in my world, I was always right. I was always right. So it's really obvious when you're pointing out that you think I'm wrong. You think what I'm saying is wrong is very obvious. But I kind of look past that and continue to, I'll compromise. Maybe I'll make, I'll make an exception or whatever. And then when we moved in together, he became very controlling. Everything was going to be his way. It was going to be him. And my actual being, my actual spirit and soul was like, oh no, this is not going to work for me. Like, I got to go. Right. So we moved into separate rooms. I would cry myself to sleep for, a few weeks. And then finally I'm like, I'm out. Like, I got to go. And I did. Right. I moved on from that. And so to be here and to go through it with Mel, and to see her have the courage, pick up her life and move across country, right? Knowing how scary that is, because I had gone through it. You're trusting and just having faith. Like, I'm just going to put faith in the universe. I'm just going to go with this and what's meant to be will be. And here she is, and here we are. And that's where, like, when you say like you're unsure about life and you're not really like, am I making the right decision? Am I, you're never really going to know. But for me, I've always said, like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And, are you going to look back on your life and say, what if I did that? What if I had made that move? Would it have changed my life? And if you feel like there's a chance there could be a what if, go for it. Right? Go for it. Yeah. You have nothing to lose. It's your life. It's experience.
Absolutely. And like, I think that's a thing that kind of gets glossed over in a way. It's kind of like, like it sounds so easy and so romantic to just like, oh, I'm going to go this way. And then, look, I'm going to have this total flip. And like, it sounds so easy, but there's so much little parts that are left out. It's like the buildup that nobody saw, the at home making the decision of like, I'm done. And what was the moment you both were just like looked inside and like saw it was time to move on? Like, what do you remember that exact moment? And like, what would you say to somebody around that moment right now?
For me, it really was. It was because I was COVID. I think COVID added such a huge element for a lot of people because you're in the same space as people, all the time. And so I think that kind of like exacerbates any problems that you're having in a relationship. So for me, it was when I stepped outside of it. I stepped outside and I remember sitting on your couch. So I come back for a second visit after I said I was going to move here. I brought my daughter, who was 9, with me. I said, hey, let's go check out this spot. Let's go on vacation, right? I just wanted to see like how it felt for her. And I remember the night that I was getting ready to come back, and I'm not a big crier, and certainly not in front of people. Like I might, watch a sappy movie or sing, some sappy love songs to make myself cry, when I'm getting my period or whatever. But like to cry in front of people is not my vibe. And I remember looking at her and I said, I'm scared. I'm scared to go home. I'm scared to face what I know I'm about to face. And I never realized I was afraid before. Like I had never really thought of myself because I'm tough and I'm, all these things, but I was weak and I was scared and I wasn't sure. And I think that was a big driver for me too. Once I realized how scared I was, I knew that I had two choices. I could either live the rest of my life or the foreseeable future scared, or I could take back the control that I needed to in order to make my life the way that I wanted it to be. And so I chose the latter, obviously, to just, make it happen.
I love that.
Yeah. And for me, like, honestly, I mean, it was many, many years ago that I went through that experience. And it really was like, I am so, I don't know, like how I would describe myself. I'm so self-aware, like I'm so connected. I'm very like spiritual. And again, it was my being, my entire like being was if you take two magnets, I used to have these magnets and I would say like, this is like us and we're not connecting. And the magnets are like going against each other, and my being in that space, it wouldn't allow me.
Yeah.
And I don't take that for granted for 1 minute. It's very easy. Like, again, we're very strong, successful, confident women that have a huge support network around us. There are people that don't have that and don't have that sense of confidence and that ability to make that, to take that first step. So I don't for 1 second take that for granted. But if anyone is in that experience, is having that experience, if they can, even take that first step and connect with the right people, just to help them find their confidence, find the ability to, because, we're, as people, we're deserving to be happy. No matter what that looks like, we deserve to be happy.
Agreed. I appreciate the fuck out of you both for being so honest and just like raw about like what that's like and how it's not always like so picture perfect. I feel like, in the movie, it goes from like her life falling apart to like, oh, perfect and have it all. But like the steps in between are hard. And, like, I really appreciate how much you guys acknowledge the amount of things it took to get there. It's not as simple as it sounds, and so I thank you so much for being so honest about that. I'm going to go back to something else you said, because I'm literally fucking dying to know. So you're both really successful in your work, and you literally used like, you're both boss ass bitches, which I love. Yeah. A lot of women, myself included, have struggled, I feel like, in times to like, have the confidence to really hold space in, a meeting or, just even knowledge or just taking space in whatever it is that, where do you think that came from for both you guys, and how did you get there?
Interesting question. Do you want to go first?
Oh gosh. I mean, okay. So.
Oh no, I know this is good. I know this is good.
When you know your thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, she's like, well.
I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it really, there was a point in my life that I was always really, really focused on work ethic. And like, I came up from like a really strong mom. Like often people will refer to my mom as like a Judge Judy. So, I mean, you weren't getting away with shit. No. Like you had to be on it. Right. So, I was always kind of raised around confidence and strength and work ethic. And I worked really, really hard. And, there was a point where for so many years I was trying to prove myself and trying to prove my leadership and, really wanted to be the louder voice and in people's faces. And then it finally came to me one day that, this is innate. This is who I am. I'm not going to sit back and be quiet because it's not who I am, right? So it really is just having that sense of awareness. And I don't know that I remember that time distinctly of being like, oh, wait a second, like I'm not proving myself anymore. Like this is who I am. This is what I can contribute. This is what I bring to the table. I've proven now to myself over my years of experience. So that's where it comes from. It's really, again, self-awareness and experience that comes from. And, every time I would get knocked down or I would fail, I honestly, at one point I said, I should write a book on getting packaged out from a job every 5 years, because they were just packaging me out. Like at the 5-year mark, they were like, okay, well, here's a big check. See you later. And I couldn't figure
that's an asshole.
Right. And I couldn't figure out like what happened. Like why? Like I love this job. What do you mean? Like I actually sat in when they were firing me one day and was like, well, do you need some time to think about this? Yeah. Like, are you sure you want to like me?
Is it because they were intimidated?
I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? They bought me a condo. So like that payout bought a condo. So I'm like, okay.
I love how you spin that.
Like, I would say that my story is probably not quite as I think it's different. So I grew up in a really humble environment. We didn't have any money. We grew up in the ghetto. And so the people that I was around were drug dealers, were people who were, even more or less fortunate than I was. And then at the age of 16, my mom died in a drinking and driving accident. I had not much going for me at that point in time. I was already living on my own. I was struggling like crazy, but I had these really awesome people skills. And I learned that, I think, from the ghetto, right? I learned how to listen. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but I knew those people. And so I understood how to operate from a business perspective. And so I learned how to speak, I learned how to sell things through my dad's business. I got myself a job at like the Rogers, which is like communications company. Okay. And I learned all about HR, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go be an HR person. And so then I went and got a little certificate, in the evenings and weekends as a single mom of, at 20. And by 27, I had gotten to an organization with all men and decided that I was going to make my mark. And I grew. And so something that nobody knows. So I spent 11 years working at this awesome company with pretty much all men. And I made myself, I think I made myself a pretty important piece of their puzzle, because I was always willing to do the shitty jobs, right? Men, and I am not a feminist at all. I appreciate it. I'm strong, but I'm not a feminist. But I will say that in order to be respected as a female in a business world, you need to be able to be tough like a man, tough like a man. And so I did all the uncomfortable things. I fired the guys that people were scared of. I, was never afraid to do the shitty job. I was never afraid to roll up my sleeves and fight with people, not literally, in order to kind of put myself in that spot. And so fast forward 11 years, last 2 weeks ago, I accepted a new position. So I'm leaving my company of 11 years.
Nobody knows this.
Nobody knows.
She's telling
you heard it here first.
And I've taken on a position at a new company as the director of human resources. Again, very male dominated environment. And I think, again, when they ask me, why are you so good with people? I know how to handle, the people who, grew up in the streets, but I also know how to handle the executives and the CEOs, right? So I can do both. And so I think that oftentimes people, they look at their upbringing as something that holds them back. Damn, I've got a whole different skill set, right? That most people who went the traditional university path or who had the strong parents didn't have access to. I know that part, right? And that part makes me really important and really integral in a lot of organizations. So that's how I became it.
I love that you said, because it's very similar to me. Like, it's the people skills and like your charisma. Right? Like it was really just being able to connect with people and the charisma that you bring, right? Our character and who we are as people.
Right. And that's not really taught. That's not taught. There's no class in that. Yeah. That is all like literally chutzpah. Like you get that from what's around you and what you pick up. So like, no class at any like Ivy League school or whatever is going to teach you that.
Let me tell you, like we can throw down at a reggae jam. We could be at like an Indian wedding. We could be sitting around a table with executives, or we could be, we're just being able to integrate and embrace and just be like, this person that, and I think both of us have always had this ability and just appreciate people, right? So
I love that. And like I love what you're saying about like you can malleably, is that even a fucking word? I have no idea. Like, I'm like, wait, what? Like you can adjust. It sounded good, right? It sounded really intelligent.
You're so smart.
I'm college degree, and my degree is in dance, by the way. So like I'm not doing anything with that. But like, that's important to be able to adjust to this situation, navigate it, and like, maneuver. And that's really important. And I think it speaks a lot about why you two are attracted to each other as friends, because you're both like, oh, I see you. I got it. Like, and that's what people should look for in a best friend, is someone who sees the same kind of like way, they want to live life, dumb morals, and see like kind of like, if I throw you into any situation, how are you going to act? Because that's really important. I think sometimes like certain people don't bring other people around certain people because like they're like, oh, these two vibes don't connect. And a best friend, you know, of your world should be able to go into all of them, which is why I think your two's friendship is so strong.
Agreed.
Yeah, super adaptable. And I can't think of, correct me if I'm wrong, and if you correct me, we're breaking up right now. I can't think of a single social setting that I've brought you to or that you've brought me to where people haven't said like, oh my God, I love her.
Right.
Like I love, because we just, again, it doesn't matter who you are. We're gonna figure out how to connect.
Like I've been your date at Christmas parties, and you know it's really interesting. So like let's spin this. So you were mentioning like how your best friend should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, but in a relationship, okay. So like my relationship, like there's certain events I wouldn't take Marty to, right? Because I know that's not him, but I'll bring Mel, right? And it's not to take her over him. I know this is not something you're going to enjoy, and it's going to put stress on me to like, are you enjoying yourself? Like, what are, you know, like, do I got to worry about you? Whereas like her and I are just going to be like, whoa, like we're going to be in the mix, like having a good time. Right. So I think, but on the flip side of that, on the day-to-day, when you're looking at a relationship, you also need that balance, right? Like, so if I was in a relationship with you every day,
dude, I would stab you.
Right? Like we probably would hate each other. Like we'd be like, oh my God, you're so annoying.
I already hate you.
Right. Like me and my best friend, we've never lived together. And that makes a big difference. I think it's like, you know,
you shouldn't. Don't.
You shouldn't. I mean, like I've lived with another best friend and it actually was great. She is freaking lovely. But yeah, like so you don't need to know where they are every hour of the day. This speaks of any relationship. You don't need to know where they are 24/7. If they don't respond to your text, they're busy, which I struggle with. But I'm like a needy little bitch.
It might be an M thing, Marley and Mel. Like I think you might struggle with that a little bit too. Maybe a little bit. Like, oh, they didn't message me back? Like,
usually that's just so I'm navigating through the dating life now.
Right.
Like
dating.
I find that like, okay, I always have my phone. And so I find that I'm like learning how to like not respond right away and how to like not always be available because I'm learning from other people that like they're doing the same thing. Yeah. So don't always respond.
No, don't. Leave them unread. You need to leave them unread.
Yes. Is it so hard? Like,
well,
because you want to respond.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, we all want to. Yeah. We all want to. But it's just like, just don't. I've been with my boyfriend for like almost 5 years, but before, even when we were like starting to flirt and whatever, I'm busy. I need you to think I'm busy. I am not available. Because I am doing something. And that might or may not be more important than you. I will not disclose that information, but I need you to think that I'm a wanted commodity. That's the feel. But I get stressed out when my friends don't respond to me. I'm like, they're mad at me. They're dumping me. They've had it with my dramatic bullshit. And that's not true, like at all. That's like catastrophizing. But like, you know. Yeah.
Same girl, same.
So funny. Well, you guys are such a hoot. I'm dying to know. Just like you guys are, honestly, I'm going to use the term a little bit of pranksters, which I love. Yeah. I listen to your podcast and I've heard you guys kind of like recount these stories. Just, can you give us a classic story?
Yeah. Okay. So we have many. And the thing is that, okay, pranksters perhaps, but like we're always at the beginning of the podcast, we mentioned like storytellers, right? Like we're always making up these like epic ideas. And so probably what would you say would be the most fun story to share?
Oh gosh. I don't know. There's like war force.
Oh yeah.
And like,
you guys just seem like the type who are like always in cahoots. Like
we're always looking. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go with a recent story because we just talked about this on our recent pod. Yeah. And so, okay, so where we live is, I mean, population of the town that we live in. Keep in mind, my former town was just under 1 million. Okay. And now we live in a place population 6,500.
Oh shit, that is really
okay, right. And
also it's like a beach town.
Yeah,
like
beach town.
A beach
right.
town. Right.
So does everyone know everyone a little bit?
A little bit.
Except for us.
Yeah, except for us.
And everybody also speaks French, and we don't speak any French.
So people could really be shit talking you and you have no idea.
Right. Exactly. And so And so Kelly, because she's full of shit, often we'll go through the drive-through to get a coffee, and she'll try to conduct herself in complete French, which never works out. So anyways, we're in the Tim Hortons. You guys don't have Tim Hortons there, but it'd be like,
what's a Tim Horton?
It would be like similar to like Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
Like it's like the spot in Canada. There's one on every other corner.
There's Starbucks lineup.
Okay, there you go, Starbucks. It's like the poor Starbucks, essentially.
Okay. Yeah. It's the poor Starbucks. So we have Starbucks. That's the poor Starbucks. Yeah.
That's the poor Starbucks that us Canadians love. Okay, so we're driving through the drive-through on the weekend, last weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys ever do like if you've ever been in a drive-through where somebody buys your coffee ahead of you.
No, I've seen it on TikTok, but it's never happened to me.
Okay, for your American audience, so Canadians like stereotype we're really nice people.
Yeah.
Hot take, it's true. We are really nice people.
We are.
Yeah. And so sometimes like you'll get up to the front of the line and they'll say like, oh, the person has just purchased your coffee or your whatever for you. And then you buy the one for the person behind you. And it's a whole thing. Yeah. This weekend we were going through the drive-through and Kelly was offering to pay. And I said, no, I'm going to pay because my kids are in the car and like, I never know what they're going to order or whatever. So I paid for hers and she said, you know what? I'm going to pay for the guy behind us just to pay it forward. And so like what happened?
So I paid it forward. So I bought his coffee.
And being a nice ass person.
Yeah. So as I was proceeding to drive away, Mel is like, oh, could you stop like at a garbage? Like, could you like, we just have some garbage in the car we want to throw out. I'm like, no problem. But this guy's behind me and I just bought his coffee and like, I don't want him to feel like I don't want to pull over in front of him and he thinks he's got to like show appreciation, right? I was doing this like just pay it forward. I don't need you to like acknowledge that I did this. So I go to, a garbage can like away from the drive-through, and she gets out, she throws out her stuff, and I go to like drive, like to circle around, and I'm passing him. So we make eye contact and I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't want to make eye contact. I didn't want to do that. But then I end up behind him. So now I'm following him out to the highway. And like, we're driving on the highway and I'm behind him and I'm like, oh my God, now it's like I'm following him. So it becomes a whole story, right? So then I pass him because he's going too slow. Like we speed here and I got to go. So I pass him. Well, now he's following me all the way home. And I'm like, oh my God, this is becoming a whole thing. Like, so everything that Mel and I do, it just evolves, right? It just continues to evolve as we go. And, when we started our podcast, it started on the premise of shoes. Oh, shoes. Yeah. So let's go way back
because they want the best story. I thought about the best story.
Okay.
When you were talking, I was like,
Okay.
So we're in. Okay. So
do you see this relationship?
Yes.
Like,
Kelly, Melly, and then we have a friend, Lisa. And Lisa is a fucking train wreck. We love her. Yeah. But like, she's the one, who like, she's a fucking train wreck. And then Kelly has an option. She can either hang with Melly, who like, I kind of have my shit together most of the time. Yeah. Or she can go over and train wreck Bill. And so it's always like an option, like, where do I go? So we all go on vacation. That sounds like a great idea, right? Yeah. At the time, I'm in a committed relationship. And so there's one rule. What was the rule?
Right. Like,
no boys in the room.
No boys in the room. Right.
If Mel's going to come, there can be no boys in the room. And so on the night in question, Mel wasn't feeling so well. And so I decided to stay back, right? So we're in the Dominican Republic. And I decided, you know what, it's a good idea for me to stay back. I'm not really feeling well. We know train wreck Lisa is going to hit it hard. Kelly's probably going to go that way because why the fuck not?
Well, why not? Lisa.
And so I decided I'm just going to stay in the room. And so it must have been like 3:00 in the morning. And I hear these two whores come into the room. And I can literally feel, I could hear male voices and I could literally feel somebody about to sit on my bed. Yeah. And so I double foot kick this guy. He flies across the room, smashes his head across the table. And passes out on the floor dead. No! Not actually dead though, not real dead.
But like asleep.
Out cold. And so I don't even roll over. Like I give zero fucks.
No, didn't even flinch. Nothing.
So now these guys are talking about how they're gonna have to roll up his body and like take him to the ocean and like float him out there.
You got to go.
Didn't even move. And so like fast forward about an hour and a half, he woke up. What was his name? Jordan or something?
I don't know.
He woke up, he lived. I'm sure he's probably married with children now. Well, these two bitches are lying in the bed next to me and I'm having none of it and they just keep giggling. And so usually I'm pretty good, but I was like, can you guys shut the fuck up? Shut the fuck up. So all of a sudden it's like 8 a.m. and I'm like, oh, like it's really quiet. I look over, they're gone. Like there's no comforter, there's no pillows, there's nothing. And so like
I went with Lisa. We slept on the beach.
No,
we were
you
like,
didn't.
fuck it.
On a scale to like 1 to drunk, like were you drunk or was this just like okay?
Oh, absolutely. We absolutely were. So we went to sleep on the beach. Like we were like, oh well, like we're just gonna sleep under the palapa. And like when we wake up in the morning, we're here like saving the palapa.
So these bitches woke up at like 6 a.m. with a full bed. Like they have the comforters, the pillows, and as they move the pillow or the comforter off their head, people are coming out to reserve like their spots.
People are coming out. It's like 7 a.m. The sun is rising, and we're like, oh shit, there's like people coming out here. Like, okay, we're in like last night's outfit. We're like passed out. No. This is not. No, we gotta go.
Bounce.
Yeah, we gotta.
So you didn't save your like loungers for that day because like you really you had your choices there and you gave them up after that.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
I think we went to the pool. I think there was like a whole episode. Yeah, a whole nother episode at the pool. So anyway, circling back to shoes. So when I moved to New Brunswick, like I came here by myself. Okay. Mel's coming now, but I'm here. Okay. So I came by myself. I came to open a business. For the first 6 months, I was very involved in getting this business up and running. And then I decided, okay, well, like maybe now I should start dating. Like maybe now, like I'm going to go to date. So I go online, like on an app or something, and I meet this guy. I don't remember his name. And he's like, well, I'm from St. John, New Brunswick. I'll come down to Moncton and, we'll go out for dinner. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he picked me up.
Oh, no. What's happening?
But he showed up with no shoes. So I was like, oh shit, where am I? Like, where did I move? Like, what's going on? What is happening here? So he's like, oh, don't worry. I'll put shoes on when we go to the restaurant. And I'm like,
okay.
Okay, sure. That sounds good. So we go out for dinner and I can't. I'm not, listen.
You're out.
I need to know. No, I'm just like, I'm asking questions, right? I'm like, okay, so help me understand. Like, you're not wearing shoes. Like, what is that all about? And he's like, oh, well, shoes are like so overrated. And what? Shoes are, he's like, yeah, well, back in the caveman days, they didn't wear shoes. And I'm like, oh, like caveman days, like prior to when you were born? Like since you were born, you've been people have been wearing shoes, right? So, needless to say, that didn't work out.
No.
That was the title of our first podcast, though, was Must Wear Shoes.
Must wear shoes.
Must wear shoes.
The checklist of what men would have to have in order to date us. And that was the first prerequisite is like, you actually have to wear shoes.
And like, I would say that's like kind of standard.
Yeah. I'm not asking a lot.
No, like, it's I'm not tall order.
Like shoes. Like it seems pretty like basic.
Yeah.
Evidently it's really hard for some.
Right. So then my question was like, so like when you do groceries or like when
ew, like that's so bad.
Yeah. Right. Like no, you're not gonna win me over on this one. You're not selling me on it. No.
Nope, that didn't work. You guys are so flipping funny. If you could give any advice to, another best friend couple out there, like what's your best best advice for keeping your best friend relationship like happy and healthy and stable?
Oh my God. Oh my God, have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, have fun.
Okay. So I think, so choose wisely.
Yes.
Because I think that like so many people, I think everybody, like at everybody's core, we all want a best friend, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that if you choose the wrong best friend, if you've got a frenemy or somebody who's like not your hype girl, or it isn't like, you've got to choose wisely. And so, and sometimes the universe chooses for you. And I think that that's what's happened here.
Yeah.
But like choose wisely, make sure you've got like, again, your best friend is your hype girl. She's, not jealous of you or, not competing with you, and just have so much fun. And I don't know, like, I think that's it. Like, just choose wisely, have a great time, and just like learn together. We're on this whole like journey of like self-discovery and like all these great things. And I think that the best thing for me in the last 6 months is being able to share like this transformation and all these really cool shit with my best friend.
With me. But in that journey, and it's funny because I was here living my life and Mel came to visit. And as she's going through her transformation, she would like use me as her role model. She'd be like, I see what you have and I see what you achieved. And like, that's what I want. But I never looked at it through that lens. That wasn't like how I was looking at it. I was just over here living my life. So to know that I could be here for her and to support her and to be someone that, she looked at as a role model and to say like, I want that happiness. I want to achieve that and help her get there has been awesome. And it's helped me to sort of reassure or reinforce that, maybe like my life is pretty good, right? Like it's, yeah.
I love that. I totally agree. You have to like admire something in your friends and then, it's such a give and take. And like, also like if they're competitive with you, get out. And that's how I feel.
We have a lot of people who are like I'm sure you probably, again, especially when you're younger, like as you grow up, you recognize, and I heard this when I was younger, people say like, oh, when you're older, it doesn't matter how many friends you have. Like you just want to have good friends. But as you're younger, you like want to have this big circle.
Totally.
Like, you start to look at the circle differently and you're like, oh, okay, well, like how much of the circle actually is there for me? How much of the circle actually gives a shit about all the things that I'm doing, and how much of the circle, vice versa. How much of the circle do I give a shit about, right? And so you're going to find your person that you actually give a shit about, and invest your energy there, and just enjoy it, because best friends are the best thing in the whole world.
You guys are so flippin' sweet. I've literally loved talking with you guys. You're so freaking fun. Like should we make a new podcast? Like Kelly, Melly, and Marley. Like,
I think it has a good ring to it. For sure.
It's not bad. I might market it. Not bad. Guys, please tell us everywhere we can find you, where we can find the show, everything. Plug yourselves out to us.
Sure. Okay. So I'm the inspiration behind the internet. And so we're pretty simple. Like you can listen to the Kelly and Melly show on Apple, Spotify, or pretty much anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. You can catch us on Instagram at the Kelly and Melly Show. We're huge on like throwing up hilarious memes and just.
I love the memes. Your guys' memes are literally what got me to listen to your show. I thought that I laughed out loud. There's one with Baby Yoda. I can't even remember what it said, but I was like so freaking.
I went on a whole day of Baby Yoda. Anyways, you can follow us on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. I mean, we're so happy to be on your podcast, and hopefully you'll come on our podcast.
I would love to. You guys are so fun. I'm not kidding. Please come back anytime. You guys are so easy to talk to, so fun, so relatable, so honest, which is what we are all about. So thank you guys seriously for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it.
No problem. We love you.
I love you guys. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.